Hello, everyone. Welcome to our interview with Heather Flanagan. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Name's Heather Flanagan. I'm the principal at Spherical Cow Consulting, which basically means I'm an independent contractor that wears a whole lot of different hats with a whole lot of different organizations.
Thank you for coming to the interview today. We really appreciate your support with Women in Identity. You've been a volunteer on the IT team for a very long time. What made you become a volunteer with Women in Identity?
Honestly, y'all asked me. You were in the process of trying to switch from a website to basically a more managed platform, and it needed some organization. And so y'all reached out to me and said, "Hey, could you help out with this?" And I said, "Sure." So that got us over to our current platform, Silk Start, and I've just never gone away since.
Well, we really appreciate your help. You also recently got promoted at your job at IDPro. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So now I'm acting executive director in addition to the being the principal editor for the body of knowledge. They are still two separate roles. It just happens to be that I am filling them both. What this means is that I now have responsibility for everything from strategic planning for the organization to building membership to managing their social media while still getting the body of knowledge put together and published. We have a new issue coming out this month too. It's got three new articles coming at the end of the month.
That's really exciting. How are you liking it so far?
It's a fun challenge. I admit that much of the job is stuff that I've felt very comfortable with. It's relationships, and I just love talking to people and understanding what they do and trying to help them get where they're trying to go in their careers. So perfect fit. Building membership is actually really challenging, especially now as people trim their budgets and then trim their budgets some more and then trim their budgets some more. That part, you know, I'm working on it.
It is a challenge. I mean, we're a membership organization as well, and even though our membership is free, it is quite hard to sometimes brand it and convince users of the benefits of a membership. So I can totally relate to that. Um, so you've been in the identity industry for a while. It's always really interesting in these interviews to hear about the different backgrounds of how people got into identity, because it's a very wide field in that sense. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you got into the identity industry?
Well, I was supposed to be a librarian when I grew up.
Oh, wow.
My undergraduate degree is a liberal arts degree with a major in English history. My graduate degree is a library science degree. So yeah, I was absolutely right down the path of being a reference librarian until I went to work for an ISP immediately after graduate school. And that was a while ago, a long while ago. But the thing is working for the ISP, taking up system administration, right? You immediately start to have to worry about who's logging into your systems. What do they have access to? How easy is it for a bad actor to get into your systems? How do you prevent it? Right? The identity component of it was always there. As time went on, I eventually ended up being senior manager of the systems group at Duke University, where it wasn't me managing the systems themselves, but I had a team doing that, and we had everything from the Kerberos environment, and, AFS for file system management, and, a variety of other things, which again boil down to a lot of who can access systems, how are accounts created, how does authorization happen, how do you hook up systems from SAP to, PeopleSoft and all these other different platforms at the time. Uh, so the identity component was literally just always there, always a fundamental part of whatever roles I was taking on. And after I left Stanford, the it was right into this was 2010, and what was funny about that time is people would say, well, I don't have a job for you, but I have a little piece of work, right? And that's literally how I became an independent contractor. I just started accreting little pieces of work that organizations had, and they all were about how can we make collaboration happen across institutions and across the world, uh, and that's all about identity.
Oh wow, that's so interesting that you went from studying for being a librarian to now working in IT. And I hear a lot of similar stories of how people got into identity, and it's all very similar. They start somewhere completely different, but it just shows that identity is at the center of a lot of different fields of study and work fields. So that is really interesting. So now with your role at IDPro, you've been working there for a while, and Women in Identity and IDPro have been partners for a while as well. Why did IDPro choose to partner with Women in Identity?
Um, IDPro is about growing identity practitioners, right? It's about making sure that there is knowledge in the field that people are comfortable stepping up. And Women in Identity is focused on diversity in the industry, making sure that people move ahead, move forward, and not just diversity in the industry, but support for diversity in the whole world, right? To make sure that identity systems support a diverse population, not just that the industry itself is diverse. So it was a natural partnership, right? As IDPro is looking at that, let's partner on strengthening the industry. Uh, Women in Identity is focusing on, okay, we've got the industry, now let's focus on the rest of the world. It's a natural growth.
Yeah, you complement each other's work. That's really good. And I think I have one more question for you before we finish the interview. You've been in the identity industry for a while, and I think although there is improvement, it's been quite a male-dominated industry at the start. I do see a lot of improvement now, especially with working in women in identity. You meet a lot of other women in identity as well. What would be your piece of advice for uh, a, a young woman like me that wants to enter the identity industry in this time?
I don't think I have something, for the identity industry per se, but something for any career that a young woman is going into. Um, it took a while for me to embrace my what turned out to be a superpower of asking stupid questions. That whole, being willing to say, but wait, does this make sense? And feeling like you're an utter moron when you're trying to poke at an idea because something doesn't seem right. And do it anyway, right? Because that's a really important part. Ask those questions. Go ahead and be out there and say, you know what, I'm gonna push on this because I have to understand it too. Your understanding is equally necessary and valid as anyone else's in the room.
That's a really good piece of advice, and I can definitely relate to that. Sometimes I find myself holding back because you feel like, is it just me that's not understanding this, or is something
Hmm.
not adding up? And a lot of the times when you do ask those questions, you figure out that, hey, actually something is not adding up. It's not just you, or you'll be able to understand whatever issue is at hand. So that's a great piece of advice. Thank you so much for today, for the interview, for your time, and of course for volunteering at Women in Identity. We really do appreciate it. And I hope that you enjoyed this interview as well. And I hope you
Of
have a great
course.